I'm Kelsey Chittick.
And I'm October Gonzalez. And you're listening to Keep On. Hey guys, welcome to Keep On the podcast with October Gonzalez, myself, and Kelsey Chittick.
Hello.
Today we have on our friend and the creator of the Human Longevity Project documentary, which is amazing. And we're super excited that you're here. Welcome, Jason Prall.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for being here.
Good to see you girls again.
We've been talking about this for a while.
Yes.
I know we have.
Finally made it happen.
We really have. And you know what's funny is whenever I think of what you do and what you invest your time in and the travel and the research, and I always wonder how you answer people when they ask you what you do for a living. Like what I'm your friend and I honestly don't even know how to answer that.
I don't know how to answer either. Honestly, I still haven't figured it out. At one point I was a practitioner, right? So I was doing health practitioner stuff, working one-on-one with people. But now I just put out health education, I guess, information. But really, if you really want to know the truth, it's me going around doing the stuff that I love.
That's great.
And having fun with it and then trying to make a business out of it.
It sounds like you're living the dream. I know you're living the dream.
Because I'm not a filmmaker, but that's essentially what we do. And I just sort of play that role.
Right.
So can you kind of walk us through, because you had a traditional career for a while.
Yeah.
And you were an engineer.
Yep.
And then we talk a lot about here making bold choices in life and kind of figuring out when you can step over fear and end up somewhere great. And I think that's something we're both still working on.
Always working on.
Our major focus. But how do you go from a corporate safe job that has a salary to saying like, screw it, I'm gonna take a leap of faith here and follow a passion that I have no clue where it's gonna go. Can you kind of walk us through that process and when you knew it was time to go?
To be honest, it was kind of easy. Had I been listening to the signs earlier, and the messages earlier, it may have been a difficult decision. But when I was working as a mechanical engineer, I was making a good living. The trajectory is good, right? So I was at that point 10 years in, which is the perfect place as an engineer because you finally have enough experience that you're not just a newbie and you're still young. So you can kind of get into that partnership role. And that's what I was facing. I was looking forward saying, okay, here's where I go if I keep going. Or I'm so not happy where I am because I feel like I can't do what I want to do here. And so the messages were really strong inside. I was getting bitter. I was getting angry. And it was sort of coming out in the workplace. Not horribly, but I could see it. And I'm just like, there's something wrong. This isn't it. And at the same time, I felt sort of trapped. I bought a house in Seattle. So, I had the mortgage. I had the job. I couldn't quit my job and follow another path because I had a mortgage that I had to pay for. And I couldn't sell the house and be above water in any good way. So it was tough. And I was in the process of remodeling my house. So I just went all in. I said, if I want to quit this job and go follow a path in sort of the health world, then I have to remodel my house in a big way. Like I have to finish this,
right.
dump a bunch of money into this. And then at that point, when I finally get enough financial security, I can quit my job, move down to Southern California, which is what I really wanted to do, and start a new business.
So you had like that Jerry Maguire moment where you're like, who's coming with
pretty
me?
Much.
You're like,
pretty much.
No one, but I'm going.
But it was great. I sold all my stuff. I had a car, and it was loaded to the brim, and I drove down to California, and that was it.
That's
so
so
I kind
brave.
of did that little minimalist thing, and came down here, found a place, and then I would say the hardest part was starting the business.
Yeah.
Because, for everything that I learned, none of it had to do with starting a business. I was pretty good at the health stuff, but then there's the marketing and everything like that, right? And the business model side of the equation. And of course, any business takes a little bit to get going, but when you're the only one, you don't have a team, you don't really have the marketing chops and that sort of thing. That's the tough part. So that was the big risk.
Everybody wants things right away now.
Yeah.
All of us do because everything seems so easy when you see it. But so can you take us to, you start your new job and really because you want to go back to kind of how we met him?
Well, yeah, I wanted to get into that too.
Then we'll figure out what you do that's different and then how we all kind of got
right, and why we're friends. I think it's so interesting and quite serendipitous, how we all met. It was all the way across the other side of the world in a little place called Estonia.
Greatest place.
Estonia,
go there.
Which, by the way, is a fantastic place to visit.
Go to
the
Tallinn.
In
the
summer.
With a lot of friends.
Key. Yeah.
Yeah, key. Yeah. It's a beautiful medieval town, and we were there for a conference, would you call it, called Mind Valley, which is kind of like, it's a bunch of evolved people in the middle of Europe trying to life hack and upgrade and level up and lo and behold, we see a friend from San Diego. We run into you. I mean, we didn't really know you.
No, I knew Travis, right? Our
Right.
mutual friend Travis.
Mutual friend, yeah.
And so we'd
we'd all
known
been
each
at
other on the
Michelle
periphery.
and Travis's wedding.
Right, it was
and
on
we
the
saw you
periphery.
dance.
And it was really good.
Do you remember him dancing?
No, but you did.
He was dancing in the middle, like at the very end.
That's amazing. I think
and
that's awesome.
and what was funny is when we met him
I don't remember
in Estonia that night, all the people that had met him earlier at A-Fest were like, "Oh, he's a really good dancer," and I was like,
Oh, so that stuck out in your mind.
I couldn't picture where we knew him from, and I was like, "Are you in the military?" Like I remember being like, I know I've seen you somewhere."
Why, were you in the military?
No, I don't know
Yeah,
why.
right.
But I remember thinking like, where do I know this person from? And then when it all came back, I was like, it's Cancun or wherever we were.
Yeah, but we briefly met just for
It was
half
so
a second.
quick.
So
Yeah.
our real meeting was in Estonia. So
Yeah.
let's
Yes.
talk about why
Yeah.
you can tell us our
Sorry,
audience.
I got sidetracked in
Yes.
the
So
wedding.
you tell our
About the
audience
dancing.
why we were in Estonia.
Yeah, so my
You.
company
Yeah.
did a film called the Human Longevity Project, which took us all around the world speaking with people that are 102, 104, asking about their life when they were young, really getting an understanding of what their life was like and talking about longevity and really trying to figure out what the solutions from a lifestyle perspective of what was contributing to that.
All of us spent a lot of time talking about
Yeah.
life and deep discussions around grief and fear and moving through stuff and where it was stored in our bodies and some of the stuff that
It was really good conversation.
yeah, and I think that we talked to you a lot about just in terms of medicine and how we deal with things in the West versus the East, and what are some ways that aren't new per se, but just different ways to heal. And so that's kind of what you did when you left your job. You went and started to look at people's health more holistically and more from a internal out as opposed to let's try and fix it.
Yeah, well, that was the thing when I was working a lot with people one-on-one. I was running, functional lab tests, and I was going the holistic route. But the way that they train it here, even in the sort of integrative functional world, is really about biochemistry. It's about systems biology. And I was doing all that, and it was getting some success. But there was always these people that I couldn't get to the finish line, and it bugged me, right? And what I realized that it was a lot about lifestyle. So really fixing the lifestyle medicine piece. So teaching people how to live again, which is kind of weird, but at the same time, our environment here in the West is so different than it was 200 years ago, or the way that some of these people live in different parts of the world. And so I was teaching people that, but again, I couldn't get to the end with some of these people. And then I realized it's trauma. It all goes back to trauma, and everybody has trauma on some level, right? If you're a baby, if you're 1 year old and you're crying because you're hungry and mom's on the phone and she's answering the door and handling all these things, then the baby basically creates a story, essentially.
Right.
There's a feeling of, I'm not being looked after, nobody cares for me, right? And that's just an example. So it doesn't have to be this major abuse type of thing that most people think about, but there's always trauma. Even birth itself can be traumatic.
No kidding.
Especially if it's
No, but
in
for the child.
certain situations.
Well, for the child, yes, but think about us for a second.
Perhaps, yeah, especially if there's interventions with the medical system,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
it can really be traumatic for the mother, but for the baby it can be traumatic. Even
Of course.
a cord wrapped around your neck for sure, but the settings are pretty chaotic these days. So there's so much trauma, and then of course you get into the real stuff where you have alcoholic parents, incarcerated parents, divorces, abuses, all these things.
Right.
And it got to the point where I started recognizing that in the people that I was working with, and to the point where I could sense it in their voice. So when they want to work with me, and I can tell they're kind of afraid to really go, and so I could just sense the fear. And so I got pretty good at sensing that and kind of working with it. And when I started recognizing how important that was, that really led me on a journey or a path to figure out how other people do it around the world. And of course, plant medicines and ayahuascas and these psychedelic thing is really starting to emerge in the US, but those things have been used around the world for thousands of years by indigenous peoples, and they do it a very, very different way. And if done the right way with the right setting and right integration, that can be an effective way for trauma and for recognition of what the real issues are.
Right.
Because sometimes the trauma recovery or the integration or the moving past that is what happens after the ayahuasca. So everybody wants to go do ayahuasca and fix all their shit.
Right.
It doesn't work like that.
It's kind of turned into a trendy thing that people are completely abusing and missing the mark.
Missing the whole point of it. And
Right.
and they don't use it for trauma in their cultures. They really use it to remember. They say that we we don't learn anything, that we already know. As divine beings, we know everything.
I do believe that.
It's just a
Yeah.
matter of remembering who we are and remembering how this all works. And so they use it differently, but that was really effective for me to start to see how to use that. There's other things like EMDR, there's hypnotherapy, there's so many tools that can be used to address trauma. There's a bunch of different energy work, and this is starting to come out now, and it's not weird anymore, which is cool.
It's not.
We've done everything to craniosacral, to rapid eye
Absolutely.
movement. My kids have done float tanks. And I really think that all the stuff we've done the last year, I don't know, I mean, they seem to be in a good place. Well, I always say,
They
like, we'll
are.
know in 20 years how everybody turns out. But I do think the whole idea of either taking like a Xanax or a Zoloft and then like an hour of talk therapy every 2 weeks, it's just not really touching the surface of what we need.
Well, of course not, because most of the trauma is subconscious.
You
Right,
know,
so
yeah.
so the subconscious mind, and you can actually think that the subconscious mind is as the body itself.
Absolutely.
So when I feel knee pain, it actually could be because trauma, right?
Yeah.
Could be
Just where it manifests.
the
that you can
legs,
feel
right?
it.
The legs are sort of family related. That's your, that's your limbs, and left knee is probably female. So you can kind of use these things. The Chinese medicine has been using this for a long time. They know that you store anger in your liver and gallbladder, resentment, and so in fact I analyzed a blood test from one of my friend's friend. She said, "Hey, will you take a look at her blood test and just tell me what's wrong?" Because the doctors don't know how to actually read blood tests, believe it or not. Another story, but so she had me look at the blood test and looked great, except for her liver enzymes were just off the charts, and nothing else. So when you find that, usually you look for other markers that would indicate, give you some information, but it was just that. And I said, well, has she had any liver issues? Does she drink a lot? Does she an alcoholic?
Right.
Does she take a lot of pharmaceuticals, whatever? And she's like, no, she's like clean. She eats great, blah blah blah. And so I said, which does she have? Does she have trauma? Is there anger? Probably with dad or mom or something. And she's like, oh yeah, you have no idea. So you can see these things, right?
Right,
They actually
shows
show up on blood tests. So
Listen to your body, trust your gut, all of those things.
it's everywhere.
Sleep on it.
It-
I love that one.
yeah, it's
Go to bed.
yeah. So
Let your body rest.
you can't get to it in those normal ways. It's not that those aren't helpful. They can be helpful in terms of just getting out some of the emotion and really trying to get people stable, but it's not going to get to the core of what's there, and it's not going to unlock it. So it can take a lot, and you're seeing a lot now with ketamine is now a thing, psilocybin and psilocybin therapies, MDMA assisted psychotherapy. Those are very effective. They've been shown to be really effective. So there's a lot of ways to go about this. And as you get into that, you start healing those traumas, autoimmune conditions go away, cancers go away. It's amazing
wild.
to watch what's going on, because your body is just manifesting a physical symptom based on a psycho-spiritual, psycho-emotional issue. So we have to really relook at a lot of these things. And as I started to dive into this stuff and really look at it, it was like, well, shit, like, what are we doing? Why aren't we going to that first? Because we all have it. So go to that first. So if you do that and you do lifestyle medicine, you're pretty good. Like, you can fix some imbalances on tests and that kind of thing, but you do those two things, you're going to get 90% of the way there.
And you can also do it without feeling like you have to be reliant on a pharmaceutical or on something that's going to be, in the long term, so harmful to your body.
Well, and that's equivalent to your check engine light coming on and just shutting it off, or putting a piece
Yeah.
of tape in it so you don't see it.
Right.
So
That's exactly it.
keep going, but like eventually you're going to run into some shit, and then it's going to cost more, right? So if you don't have time or the investment to focus on healing, then you're going to have time and investment to focus on disease, right? That's the reality.
My mom always says, like, with kids or your health, you either pay now or you pay later. Like, you're going to pay.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
you either put the time in when the kids are little and you battle them when they're 0 to 12, or you're going to pay when they're 22 to 29.
And at the end of the day, what's interesting about the trauma stuff, people initially come in when things are so bad, they have a certain condition, or they're so depressed or whatever it is, that they finally are willing to take action. Now, that's okay. That's basically the body systems pushing you to a point to really get to that change. But the beautiful part about that is that if you come in and for arthritis and you have traumas, we get through the traumas, well, now your mood improves, you become a better person, you're more stable, your energy is just so much more aligned, you find your passions. Like, it doesn't just fix the arthritis, it fixes everything. So fixing that trauma and really getting to the core of the wounds, you meet people, people will meet their husband or wife like right after that. You know, I mean, these are the type of things.
Oh, really, Jason? We'd like
That's important work.
We'd like to hear about
Absolutely.
that. Yeah.
I've always been lost in school, right? I was good at math and good at the sciences. I had some weird desire to teach. You know, you guys know me by now.
Yeah.
Anytime you get me a room, I'm just trying to be the professor.
Instill knowledge.
And I'm trying to
That's
calm
so
that
true.
down.
100%.
Oh, I love that
but
about
I,
you.
So
I
true.
enjoy that, right? So
course.
I enjoy teaching.
Because you're excited about what you love.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so I've always had that passion to teach. For a minute, I wanted to go into like patent law or something, you know, which is what engineers kind of get into, because I don't know why. And so there was always something weird there, and I didn't know what to do with my life, you know. And so I just followed the mechanical engineering path because I was good at math, and then I did that, and then I got, you know, I just followed the path.
Made
God, you're
sense.
just like asleep.
You know, I kind of had a little dark night of the soul, really, with all the things that I found out about what's going on and how it works. It's sending you a signal. It's giving you a clue to follow a greater path, a spiritual path, a passionate path, a purposeful path, whatever it is, if you just listen and you follow it. So that's really what got me on that path. But to answer your real question, I just wanted to kind of help people. You know, I was empathetic toward the people that were suffering with stuff, and I thought I knew enough to help, and I knew that I couldn't affect change on the things that I wanted to affect change on, because I saw the stuff behind the scenes, pharmaceutical industries, chemical industry, all the stuff that I was really did not like, and the only way to fight that was to basically pull people out of the system, right? So the only way to take down big pharma really is to pull people out of the system. Like that's the most effective way, right?
So you mean stop the money going in.
One by
Exactly.
one.
Right. Stop
Exactly.
the
One person
consumers.
at a time.
Absolutely. And then it builds, right? And of course, with social media and everything we have now, it's like it's a huge trend of this. They're falling apart, honestly.
It's not working. Yeah,
No.
it's not working for
Everybody's
people.
waking up a little.
Absolutely.
Well, and there's just, how can we have all the solutions in the world and we have more depressed friends, more overwhelmed people, more anxiety, and we have every pill
and
for
there's no
everything.
solution, right?
No.
And they're just, the whole point is to keep you locked in that system.
Anytime you get a refill for 12 months, that's like a problem. You know, like
Right.
like everything changes. Our bodies
Yeah.
change, our hearts change.
But I understand it. Like I'm empathic towards that, right? Because people go to the doctor and they're expecting some kind of solution, and some of those things work. You know, it's like when I tell my friends that work out, and they take these ridiculous pre-workout things that have chemicals and colorings, and I'm like, here's the problem with that. If you take that and it helps you work out better and it works, then you'll never get off it.
Right.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't help you, but it's toxic, so it's a lose-lose.
Right.
There's no way to win this game.
Right.
So if it's toxic and it works, you're going to keep taking it and you're going to take toxic crap.
But it's that
If
quick
it doesn't
hit.
work, then you just wasted money, right?
Yeah.
So it's like same thing with big pharma. You know, it's if you go down that path, it's just not going to really get you anywhere.
I
you know?
remember after Nate died, I didn't sleep for like 5 days, and then someone brought over a Xanax. I'd never taken Xanax. I'm, as you know, very afraid of everything, or was. That's the past tense. But I remember I took the Xanax, and they were like, "You have to sleep. You haven't slept in 5 days. You got to take care of your kids." And I remember when I took it, it was the greatest thing in the world. Of
course.
But then I woke up and I'd forgotten Nate had even died.
Right.
And
Like,
I
where
thought,
am I?
wait.
What's going
And
on?
at some point, about a week into it, I was really grateful for that week because I actually did need to sleep to be able to kind of function. But I was really clear that Xanax was blocking any growth or any moving forward with the grief or the acceptance of this new reality. So like I could just numb it and forget that it happened. And the pill did work for that. And I think about medicine a lot. It's not that there's not a place for it in a certain time. Like that first week I needed to be put to bed. I was literally losing my mind.
You physically couldn't get
No,
to
and I
sleep.
was going to
Yeah.
go into like psychosis.
Right.
But after about a week, you need a friend or someone to be like, okay, so now you've slept and now it's time to like face what you have on your plate and not numb it away.
And this is the problem I have with the industry, is that you shouldn't even need a friend. You know, if you need to sleep for a week, then they should give you 7 days worth of stuff.
Right. And someone should
that's
be,
it.
yeah, that's actually a
so
good
this
point.
is the problem, and that's what I see, is that we're running to this stuff too quickly, and it does work, right? I mean,
Right.
if you give somebody, you know, heroin or opioids, like, yeah, it kind of feels good probably. So,
Yeah.
but just because it makes you feel good doesn't mean it's good to do. And of course, we have the biggest opioid crisis in the world,
Sure.
Yeah.
and that alone has created a huge problem with all of our statistics, longevity,
Right.
you know,
course.
aging, all the death statistics. It's insane. So
It's the numbing that people want. It's
because we're
they don't want to feel
It's
whatever
so
they're
painful.
feeling, and
It's yeah.
and it's understandable. So I mean, I get that, and that's why I'm trying to point people to these other things that they can do, because they're some of them aren't painful. You know, going and doing hypnotherapy, not so painful.
enjoyable actually.
Yeah, you can,
Yeah.
and the releases that you get, and I do have this thing too where I don't know if it's true, but I feel like that at some point you have to feel the pain. So if you avoided, if you did the things that were not good, then your body gives you pain. So you're going to have to work with that until you figure it out. But if you're avoiding the things, certain things that then cause you pain, you're going to feel the pain later. So at some point you have to deal with pain. And
it's crazy.
We talked about this a lot in Estonia over many, none of us really even drank. I mean, this is the other thing I'm realizing. When you're having deep conversations, when you're talking about real things, when you're connected with people you love and respect and are all trying to do better things, you don't really need a lot of fluff around. And I think Estonia was like that because we were really talking about stuff. But one of the things we talked a ton about was fear. And you don't have a ton.
I have a little,
You have a little in different areas, but you and I talked about that quite a bit. What are we so afraid of with the pain? Because obviously Toby lost her mom. You've been through your stuff. I've been through mine. And when you're on the other side of it, you get it. So now I get it. Now I'm not afraid. I mean, I'm not like looking forward to another trauma, but I also understand the other side of it, as do you. What do you tell people who are like old me, which you talk to me a lot about it, but who life is pretty comfortable, it's good, and you're like, I'm just going to keep taking my pharmaceuticals. I don't really want to do the work. Where do you see people cross over, or is it just life happens eventually and they're forced to look at it? Why are we so afraid of hurting?
Yeah, I think it's obviously different for everybody, but I think it's important to recognize where the fear comes from, and it comes from childhood. It comes from the things in childhood. So there's a period basically between birth and maybe 5 years old, that we go through these really important developmental stages, right? And at about the 18-month mark or 2-year mark, that's when baby is now starting to recognize, oh, I'm not mom, I'm actually my own person. And that's why you get all the no's and they're starting to separate. And
we know all about
right?
that.
Exactly. So, but it's important to recognize those developmental stages, and so if mom doesn't, or primarily mom, but dad too, but if they're not attentive and they're not giving the child essentially between the ages of 0 and 3 or 4, they're not giving them a safe home base. In other words, you need to let them go explore and then have a home base to come back to. Most of us as parents haven't done that correctly to a perfection.
Yeah, of course.
And so depending on where the trauma came in that developmental period, you get personality types that end up coming out, and they're pretty spot on. There's a great book called The 5 Personality Patterns, and it explains all this, and it even explains body types. So the V-type people are a certain way, which is kind of anger, and they blow up, and they're hotheads, which is me.
That's my son, right? My little boy, my little one. He's just like little Yosemite Sam.
So what's crazy is the energy goes up, hothead, right? So all the
right.
energy goes up. So in the growth process, you actually all the growth is up here. It's very fascinating, and they're the aggressive types. And so this is me, pretty normal. Get me over a situation where I'm uncomfortable. I'm past my limit. Boom, hothead. Some people go in. They get small. They hide. They go down.
Keep thinking of all my kids. I'm like, yep.
And so you can if you understand this, then you understand what their patterns are and what their
and be
where this stuff
sympathetic.
comes. Absolutely, and you learn to work with somebody. So I have a friend, and he's kind of the one that kind of goes in. So when he gets pushed past his limit, basically emotionally, so what I do is I'll turn to the side. So my energy is directed away. I'll speak a little softer. I'll back
so
off.
it calms him down.
I'll actually pull back. Like if I keep pressing, he's just going to get smaller and smaller. It's going to shut down more and more.
So important when raising kids to know what type of, to be sympathetic, empathetic to each personality, because
absolutely
when you're in the mix of like parenting a child, you kind of just end up just by, I don't even know, just natural reaction, just blanket parenting. And you just get caught
based
up
on
in
what
it.
you know.
Based on what I know.
And you like the one that does it the way you do, mostly. Like there's always one that you're like, finally, you get it. You're my favorite if I had one, which I do right now. And it's you, because there's always the other kid who's there to basically mirror everything you need to work on and triggers everything in your soul.
Yeah.
Well, and so, so I've got a one coming up. So
yes, tell us real quick.
Try to
Jason's
plan that.
having a baby.
In January.
So
but
cool.
my whole thing is a boy. Yeah, my whole thing is in my life has been patience.
Yeah.
So I can already see this is going to be me constantly working on patience. But another one of the types I want to tell you about is the rigid. So this is the person that keeps everything neat and order and tidy. They're the person that they do that because it keeps them safe.
And so different.
Absolutely.
Very different.
And I don't think as parents that for a long time, I think this generation of parents, we're all trying to do it so well. But actually, I don't know that that's the human experience so much. I think it's more, we've gotten into a generation of women who think it's supposed to be fun and easy, and we're supposed to really enjoy our kids and really enjoy our friends.
To every single
Take them to
activity.
everything, love them, have boundaries, and it's too much because we all are going to hurt our kids because humans hurt each other. That's the human experience. But I think what you're saying is if we honor that we all are going to hurt each other and we have tools to recognize where we've hurt or where we are hurting, then we change society. It's not that we all have to get it right.
No,
Because we're not perfect.
We have to
Right.
pay attention.
And that's
We
not
just have
the
to-
pay
we just have to
attention.
pay attention.
Pay
Because, you know, a lot of the indigenous people and people that I've talked to that are really, really wise that have looked at a lot of this stuff, parents, we all screw up. And,
All of
and
us.
everybody's going to get trauma. So your kids are going to get some kind of trauma patterns, et cetera,
No matter
that
what.
happen. And again, that's not bad. So each one of those personality types I mentioned, if they get pushed beyond their limit, that's when the pattern comes out. The beautiful part is that you get gifts with those patterns.
Absolutely.
So my gifts with all my traumas was, okay, I'm alone. I got to figure things out. So I got really good at figuring everything out because that's how it kept me safe. I got really good at excelling at school, excelling at the violin, excelling at sports, because then I got my love and my praise that way. So I felt accepted, and here I was, right? So now that's trauma playing out, but it gave me gifts.
Right.
And if as an adult I can recognize to learn that and move through that and see my patterns, then the gifts say, and my trauma, flipping over into trauma doesn't have to happen as much or as often or as strong. So if I can get rid of the trauma patterns, I get to keep my gifts. So don't worry about, traumatizing your kids. That's going to happen.
It's part of it. It's part of the beauty.
It is the gift. Like we all develop personality, ego. The ego is the personality, and those personalities have patterns. And so we can change who we are from a personality standpoint if we learn to recognize these things. So I think we just have to have more awareness around these things, recognize them, and do our best to support kids and that kind of thing as best we can, and adults that are still dealing with trauma so deep and in a subconscious way that it comes out in various ways. I mean, look at all the Hollywood types and the singers, all the kid actors. I mean,
They're broken.
can you imagine how much trauma develops in a system like
Yeah.
that? And then of course we see all the drugs and the things that they get into, and so that's just that playing out. That's all that is.
Absolutely.
So it's been studied. 10 Ways to Sunday. We know how it works.
When you traveled the world and you've been so many places, and I know recently you've done a bunch of trips, if you could, I know they do so many things in these other cultures and these other societies that are different from ours, but if you had to pick the 3 things that you would bring back and say, if we could integrate this back into the American culture or into our neighborhoods, what would those be that you see bring not just longevity, because we talk a lot about, you're not saying like you want everyone to live to 120.
I think there's value in that because we're missing elders with wisdom. But and
100%.
if somebody makes it to 120, they actually got some shit that you
They're
want to
pretty
listen
smart,
to.
right.
Yeah, so we
right.
do want that. But in and of itself, it's not important, right?
Right.
We just use that to really investigate lifestyles and the things
Right.
that you mentioned. Number 1 would be connection. So everybody talks about community. And I'm like,
Yeah.
no, we don't need more community. Community's nonsense. There's nothing inherently good about community. Community's bullshit.
Wait, explain that more.
So
So like find your tribe. You don't believe in finding like your people.
well, kind of.
Yeah.
So are you a part of any community at this point? Like anything?
I feel like I've created my own community
Okay.
within my friendships.
but like
In my neighborhood.
But like a church,
Okay.
you mean, or something?
Anything,
Yeah.
a group that you meet up with, whatever. People go to get community all the time, a yoga group or whatever. The thing is you can feel more alone in a group than you can alone because you feel like I'm supposed to connect with these
We
people.
were just talking about
So
a
the point
friend.
is if you don't have the connection, the community's pointless. So community, people just assume that you have connection when you have a community. That's not really the
Right,
case.
that's true.
So, and then we're creating online communities, we're creating gaming communities, we're creating all these communities. But if you don't connect with anybody, then you feel more left out than ever. So what we need is connection. And that is really the key to all this. And what I mean by connection is you can have human to human connection, human to pet connection, human to nature connection, human to God connection, human to human, like self connection. So connection is the key. And there's plenty of monks that don't have community, and like we would think of them, they're connected to something else, right? Connected to the whole.
Right.
If we have, I'm a loner with a couple pets, like the studies have shown, like how much beneficial across the board from a health perspective is to have a pet because they're unconditionally loving you.
Yeah.
So you have a connection. So it's really connection. So if we can just start to understand connection and really develop that, the difficulty with that is that, again, back to childhood, we have connection issues or attachment issues. And so you see this playing out in the standard rom-com, movie where the guy and the gal sort of like each other and starting to fall for each other. The gal's coming on way too strong. The guy, as soon as this gal's starting to come on, he's like, oh God, and he kind of backs out, right? That's the standard kind of attachment styles playing out. Somebody just going after it and then the other one backing off.
Yeah.
And then, so there's these attachment styles that we have. And if we don't know how to have a secure attachment, and that, again, that comes from young age, then it can be hard for us to develop connection. And I have that myself. So I have what's called an anxious. That's the one that kind of, if you're coming on, I'm like, and then there's the one that basically chases, right? So, so we have these. And so again, we have to look at that. There's some work there, but just
We've all got so much work to do.
It's childhood, I'm telling you. But it's important. That's why we need to at least look at
and
this
just
stuff.
be born an 18-year-old?
But then we're missing the point of this, right?
Okay, you'd be like, what?
This
Off
is
to
the
college.
point of this human experience, is to like go through the trauma, realize our gifts through it
100%.
all,
What if we change
and
the
then
name?
utilize that pain to like lift us.
And it's the greatest
up?
thing ever.
What if we
to
stopped
grow through
calling
that.
it trauma? What if we stopped? That's my big thing. Like, what if we stopped making it seem bad? Because if it's
I think
what I want
there's
to
a
say,
negative connotation for
yeah,
sure.
intuitively is like, if it's so great, why do we call it trauma and hell and pain? Like I mean,
I don't know what you call it, but
yeah, I don't know what you
Yeah,
call
what
it
would you
either.
call it?
But I do think there's something about that you're asking people to, if we renamed it somehow, then it wouldn't be something you were embarrassed about, shameful about, or afraid of as much.
I think
Like
we'll
an
get
adventure.
there.
It's your
I think
adventure.
We'll get there.
Your childhood adventure.
I mean, think about therapy, right? Like,
Yeah.
especially in LA, everybody has a therapist.
Yeah.
But you
It
have
used
to.
to have
You have to multiple
used to
ones.
have a bad connotation to it, but now people are sort of more open to it. I think we'll get there. I think we'll start dropping that, but I agree with you. So again, connection.
so
I think
connection's
is
number one.
Is the main
Connection's
thing.
number one.
I think the other thing is to simplify and slow down. It kind of put those in.
You
the,
just took a
in the
deep
thing.
breath, Kelsey. I know.
We're overstimulated.
work.
Really, we're overstimulated with everything. So the phones and everything, the TVs and the computers, and we're overstimulated. If we can just slow the heck down, and it doesn't mean meditate all day.
I
Doesn't
can't
mean
even
meditate.
watch TV and not be on my phone at the same time. That's a problem.
I'm with you.
I can't
I'm
go to the
like this.
bathroom without my phone.
Right.
My son cannot watch a football game without having his iPad and his phone. So he's
it's not.
and we stop it and we do everything, but it's still, you see that it is so ingrained now in their brains and in ours.
It's addiction playing out. So we get dopamine every time we get a little thing on
What's the
social
new
media.
book that he just wrote? The guy who created kind of the iPhone and the addiction model.
I don't
of the
know,
apps.
but I've heard him
But
talk
the
about
book
it, and it's
just
like,
came out that
that's
said
pretty nuts.
distractible, how to regain. Like it's, I'll mess it up. I'll fix it. But
But you're seeing this now.
Yeah.
You're seeing technology detox retreats. People going to these places for 10
Yeah.
days
Yeah.
without any technology. And it's people come back like, oh my God, it changed my life. But then you come back into society and we all get sucked back in. So I'm not chastising here. I'm the same way. But if we can start to at least look at our habits and patterns and just, if we have an intention to change, then that's one of the
You're on your way.
areas that I think that we can look at. Because that distraction is really, really damaging.
And it
on
breaks
a
the
lot of
connection.
level- on
And
a
then
lot of levels.
and it keeps you from connecting.
Absolutely.
I was just gonna say,
Yep.
yeah.
Yeah,
Steve
so-
always says to me about the phone, he's like, just put it down. Like you don't even realize until you're with someone who's using it so much how much it makes the person that you're with or our kids.
Feel.
Yes, it's the worst. I hate when my kids are looking at their phone, but I do it to them all the time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that's
it's
the culture
it's
we live
actually
in.
from my trauma,
It's just
from my childhood trauma.
It's your trauma.
Yeah.
It's your journey.
Okay, so that's
there you
two.
I think the next one is just to move. We're so obsessed with exercise and spin classes and
Right.
goat yoga and all these things.
Yoga.
We're just trying to create this
Yeah.
distraction from, right? And we think that if we sit on our ass for 23.5 hours, that we can exercise hard for half an hour and that's going to make up for it. It's not going. It doesn't work like that. We just need to move more. So even if you're in an office and you're in that environment, just getting up and going down the stairs and coming back up, and whatever you can do just to work movement into your life, and don't stress about this exercise thing. I promise you, it's the greatest way you'll lose weight. Your brain will start working better. Everything, you just benefit so much from it, and you don't have to drive to the gym and park and do all the
And everybody's
thing.
pushing themselves so hard in these
Absolutely.
workout classes, and really, I mean, doing damage to their joints and their body. It's like you shouldn't be pushing yourself that hard. We all need to move, but just getting out for a walk, or like you said in the office, going up and down the stairs a couple times, like stretching your body out. Like you don't need to go that hard.
But one of the greatest tools that you can implement, anybody that has any health issues or anything they want to change is as soon as you get up in the morning, just go for a 20-minute walk.
So my brother's doing
That's it. Honestly,
Like
it sounds
6
so
a.m.,
simple.
just
and
walk.
It sounds so
Really?
simple. It sounds like it won't change anything, but you're getting the natural light in your eyes, which sets your circadian rhythm. You're moving your body, which gets all the physiology going, and you're getting that 20-minute walk. And listen to a podcast, listen to music, whatever you got to do, it doesn't matter. But just go for a 20-minute walk outside. I don't care if it's cold, or hot, raining, doesn't matter. Just go for that walk every day. And if you can pattern that, if you can make that a habit, you will lose weight, you will feel better, your sleep will improve, like everything, hormones improve, everything
Toby,
gets fixed.
You gotta
I
get
can
up.
talk to you all day about this kind of stuff. I feel like you're just
But see, people don't want some of
dropping
this though.
knowledge.
No, it's good,
Some people
it's
don't
good.
want this. Like
You
that's
need
the
to
problem.
get up and
I
walk.
need to get up. The problem is I can't get up.
Here's the advantage of getting up in the morning. Your circadian clock, right? The clock that's literally in every cell of your body, and this is actually the 2017 Nobel Prize was won for circadian biology. That they all get set based on mostly light, and food and exercise too. But so if you're getting up at, let's say 8 and you go for a 20-minute walk, your body's like, okay, it's morning. Like, we'll kick on cortisol, it knows what to do. Adrenaline, all the things that it's going to do, start digestion. It's going to start doing the daytime processes.
things.
Yeah, and so the light is helping that, the natural light from the sun. So you don't want to wear sunglasses and that type of thing.
And you don't want blackout curtains.
Oh, I'd love a blackout.
It depends.
A little bit of light.
If you have street lighting coming in, you probably want blackout curtains because that disrupts your sleep if the light's coming in. But yes, if you can avoid the blackout curtains at night and there's no light coming in, then the natural light can help you wake up.
But you just need to put your butt to bed by 9:30 or 10, so you can wake up at 6.
I mean, look,
That's the thing. That's the truth.
If people want
I
health,
agree.
if
Me
people want
too.
health,
If you want to be happy and healthy,
it's,
If you want
it's
help.
just,
If you did that health thing.
if you don't want to have
Wanna live?
cancer, go to bed.
I mean, I'm a judge, and like I stay up late sometimes, and I stayed up really late the other night writing and these type of things. So
Yeah.
there's things that you can do,
course.
that of course. But I think as long as people understand, if you understand that drinking Coca-Cola every day is bad for you, but you still want to do it, then cool. I get no judgment.
Just have an awareness.
If you don't know, then here's at least try to learn. At least take it in. And so that morning movement gets the circadian rhythm going as well. And again, you'll digest your food better. You will feel better. Your mood will improve. You'll have more energy. And then over time, as you do that, your body's going to start recognizing we're starting to get up at 7:45, 8 o'clock here, and you're going to naturally start waking up at 8 and having energy. So that's the trick. You have to start doing these things because your body doesn't know what time of day it is. It just
Right.
doesn't.
Yeah.
That makes perfect sense.
I love sleep more than
Okay,
anything.
well, with
Go ahead.
all these things coming to the surface with plant medicine and health and longevity and all the things that you study and all the things that you're so good at, where do you hope that we're all at in the next 5 years? What is your dream?
5 years is too short. How about 10?
Okay, 10. 5 years is short.
5 years, he's gonna have a
10
kindergartner.
years. Where is the hope? I mean, not where is the hope. Where do you hope we will be?
I hope some of the big institutions will essentially be failing, the big pharmas and that kind of thing. I think that they can be reset in a way. I hope that people are starting to wake up, and they are. I think it's happening very fast.
they are.
But getting into more of the energy medicines, getting into more of the basic wellness lifestyle things, the yogas, the breath works, the sound healings. We don't have to treat these things like they're so weird and crazy. I mean, just going to these, having fun with it. Hold everything so loosely. I think this is actually a better answer
Right.
to your question. I hope we're all holding things a little more loosely. It's so divided with the political landscape, with everything going on that it's insane. People are absolutely freaking insane right now.
Judgmental.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I actually just saw something where Ellen DeGeneres was at, I don't know where she was, some game, and George Bush was sitting next to her in the box, and she took a lot of shit for it, I guess, because why would a liberal sit next to a guy like that? And she had this really, really amazing response.
she's
like,
brilliant.
What are
Good.
you guys doing? We're all different, and I'm friends with him, and it's okay. And so I think that's what you're seeing Dave Chappelle's new stand-up, and
Right.
Aziz Ansari's new stand-up. This whole cancel culture is just insane. It's all. So I hope all of that is starting to just get lost, and where we just have a more a semblance of sort of normalcy. But really, I think if I can address that and maybe help what I think is really going on, we have a lot of collective shadows. So if you get into Carl Jung's work and these type of things, we have personal shadows, the shadows, which are basically the parts of you that you can't see, right? So if Toby, we had 40 of your friends around, there would be we can call them negative, but it's not really that, but it's the things that you don't think you are that everybody else sees.
Oh, yeah.
And we all have them, right? And then
yeah.
people tell you and you're like, wait, well, I'm not like that. And so there's
the worst.
all part of that. We all have these shadows. And so if we can do shadow work, that'll help recognize some of those things and integrate those so they're not so bad. But there's also a collective shadow. collective humanity has a shadow, and that's what you're seeing come to the surface.
Politics.
So that's why it's all getting so crazy.
Yeah.
And the politics is really the catalyst for that. Trump is
Yeah.
a very good catalyst for these
Yeah,
things. So
actually.
we all project our shadows. If you ever know somebody that you, let's be honest, talk a lot of shit about, or you get frustrated with a lot.
Doesn't ring true.
Yeah. Never. Not me. What they're doing is that you can imagine them as a sort of a coat hook.
100%.
And you're throwing your coat on them. They have a hook for something in you. There's something in that's represented by them, but it's really embodied by you that you don't like. So when you talking shit about them, it's something inside you that you don't like about yourself.
Thank you.
But ask why they're triggering you,
Right.
what it is, and then you can say, oh, that's the thing in me that, he's not fast enough, he's not getting his work done. Oh, that's the stuff I'm judging myself for not getting, So these are the things that we can do, but there's a collective human shadow, and that's what's happening. That's why everybody's freaking out about the things that Trump's doing and all these things, because he's showing people their shadow.
Totally.
And then they freak out about it.
And what they don't even know, they kind of believe.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so that stuff comes to the surface, and the people losing their shit. So I think that we're going to move through that in a big way, and I'm really grateful, actually, that the shadows are coming
We
to the
all
surface.
should be grateful for Trump in a way. He's gotten everybody a little
He's
bit
making
more.
people talk
He's
and
the
think.
greatest catalyst for change
awake.
ever.
We needed it.
Yeah, that.
If there's
ain't that the
anything,
truth?
I actually asked my friend this the other day. I said, think about 1995 and 2006 and whatever, that time period. Would you say that you're happy with the system, with the financial system, with the pharmaceutical system, with the food system, with all our systems, the school system? Are we great? We're all good? And he's like, no, I hated it. Like everything needed to change. And so if there's anything, at least that stuff is now starting to change, because everybody's starting to become aware of all the political nonsense and all the frauds that's going on. So it's all coming out.
All to the surface.
If there's anything he's doing, is pulling everything out of the closet.
I'm
and
grateful for
it may be a
that.
mess.
And you got to go somewhere to get somewhere.
Yeah, so it may be a mess, but I think that's what's happening.
Yeah.
I think the collective shadow's starting to raise out. We don't need to freak out so much. We're all okay. Life's generally the same for all of us.
We're all in this together.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We need to come back together. So I think that's what's happening. As we start to freak out, and it's probably going to get worse, then I think it'll improve, and I think we'll have a little bit more cohesive feel to the society and to the political landscape, because it's really freaking crazy to watch. But I would actually recommend people to do this. Step back and just watch. Just watch. Don't get involved. Don't get crazy. Don't get involved in a real way. But don't lose your shit. You know?
Not on Facebook.
No.
Right. Not on Facebook.
So we're going to close the way we always do. 3 questions. And we don't tell you beforehand, so you can just say what you think.
We want them to be like off the cuff.
Sure.
Like just.
And actually, last week I was surprised
answers.
I'm always surprised at people's answers. Okay, what are you most afraid of?
I'm afraid of not living up to what I think I'm capable of.
Mm-hmm.
What do you love the most?
I love the path that I'm on. I love the fact that I've found something to work with, and it's not easy. It gets harder,
Right.
honestly, as I keep going. But the resiliency is stronger. It's better. So I'm more anti-fragile, and so it's an amazing path. Honestly, I'm so grateful.
It's very cool.
I wish people could find a path like that they are excited about, because it's the best.
Yeah.
Right. And then if you could get one thing that you didn't have to work for, that you could just get dropped in your lap, that would change your life, what would it be?
Oh boy.
Anything.
If you just had
I honestly, I don't know that I really have that many desires. I think a private jet would be pretty fun. 'Cause I love to
that's
travel.
that's actually perfect for you.
That's a fun one.
Yes. That's actually
Everybody
ideal.
needs a PJ.
Yeah.
In fact, there's an acronym for it, and I'm always like, what do
Right.
you mean we're having a sleepover? And
I
they're
don't even know
always
if
like,
I'm
"You have
supposed
a
to call it a
PJ?"
private jet. I thought there was
That
something
was
else.
so not private jet of you to say private
No, but that's
jet.
important. Like
That's actually a great thing that would
I
really,
hate the airport. I hate TSA.
and it
I
would
hate-
help you do what you
that
want to
shit.
do.
It's truth.
Yeah.
Let's see if that
I just get so
manifestation. Let's see if that thing shows up.
Yeah.
That'd
We'll
be
be
nice.
hoping for. We love you. We are excited about
Yeah.
your upcoming fatherhood journey. Sending prayers
so
to your
much.
baby.
Thank you for improving our planet.
Yes.
and one person at a time.
Be prepared for the questions.
Yes,
Yes.
and we look
Mamas.
forward to it.
We will be
so
there.
thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
And we hope that you all always remember to keep on
Keeping on.